Hello and welcome to a Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Ben Aiton, and Mike Duffy. We're back again to discuss Watford's 3-1 defeat away to Blackpool at Bloomfield Road. It was an 8-hour round trip for the supporters that went up there yesterday, and it was an utter disgrace. Spineless, pathetic, gutless. So many words that you could use to describe that performance yesterday, and it's just infuriating. It's horrible to do these podcasts. Me and Mike hate doing these when there's such a bad performance, and like we have to try and pick ourselves up to come on to do it because we do love doing all this. But when you see performances like that, it's like, why do we bother? Why do Watford fans bother? That 8-hour round trip, and it's because we support our team. We love that team, but that team is fucking woeful at the moment. And me and Mike are here to just dissect the performance yesterday. Also, a little bit different this week. If you want to join me and Mike live on here to chat, give us your thoughts. Mike's going to copy our link. He's going to put it into the comments section. And then you can request to come on and we'll add you in and you can say whatever you like about the Pozzos, the performance, the players, whatever you like. So Mike's going to pop it into the live chat now on the YouTube feed. So yeah, come in and join us and have your say on here. But yeah, we're going to talk about this 3-1 defeat. And Mike, we have to start with the team news like we normally do. It was 4 changes to the team that lost 2-1 at home to Swansea City midweek. The 4 players that came in, Dan Gosling came in at right back, Trusicon came into centre defence to partner Christian Cabaselli. Imran Louza came in for his first start of the season, and also Vakun Bayo came in up front to replace Keenan Davis. And it looked like they didn't really want to give Keenan Davis 3 games in 7 days, considering that he's only actually just returned to fitness himself. So that's probably why that change was made. But Mike, what was your thoughts on that starting lineup? Obviously, it was great to see Imran Louza back into the starting lineup because he does add a little bit different to that midfield, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was nice to see a manager not thinking, oh, well, I'm going to have to put Kamara on the right. We know that Kamara on the right doesn't work. Like, we know that. Yet Edwards felt that with the squad that he had, he still had to play him on the right sometimes and Sema on the left. So it was nice that we put Gosling out on the right. I don't think Gosling had a bad game on the right. He didn't do loads, but he certainly didn't have a bad game. He was all right for someone that was filling in at right back, so to speak. So I didn't mind that. Kamara's much more strong on the left-hand side. So, yeah, not a problem. Trusicon, again, he's been good at this level previously. So, coming in centre-back, again, not a problem with that. Cabaselli, the only reason he's playing is because of injuries. He's got to be because, I mean, we'll talk about him, but that's the only reason he's getting into this squad at the moment. And yeah, Louza to come in to start, that was big for us because we know how creative he can be and we know like the type of player that he is. And my word, what a free kick he scored as well. So it was key that we've got him starting. Someone that actually wants to look for the ball and make things happen where so many times this season already, the midfield's just gone missing. Whereas Louza will come deep looking for it, trying to spray passes out wide and through the middle. So it's nice to see that. I mean, granted, we didn't do much of that yesterday, but to have Louza starting games now is a good position to be in.
Yeah, someone who wants to get on the ball. He wants to come to the ball as well, not run away from the ball. He wants to get on the ball and progress that ball forward. And that's the only player that actually does it. But Mike, I thought it was another slow start from Watford yesterday, wasn't it? And we've said this week in week. We need to improve at starting games quicker. We can't just invite pressure on from the off. And I think it was within the first couple of minutes, Blackpool had a couple of corners, and it was like we couldn't get out our own penalty box. And it was like they've seen how Swansea approached the game against Watford midweek. You know that if you press them high up the pitch, the Watford defence aren't comfortable with a ball at the feet, and you're gonna get things out of it. And then there was balls coming into a box, and Batman didn't look comfortable with it in the air, and it just looked like, oh, here we go again. It's going to be another tough afternoon watching Watford. And it was that slow start, Mike. And how do you change all this? Like, is it a mentality thing? Because it's happened too often. Even Stoke away the other week, we started slowly and then we warmed up and got into it. But it's like the first 10, 15 minutes into games, it's so frustrating and boring to watch. And it's just like backs up against the wall.
Yeah, well, I did a segment for this second tier podcast, guys, earlier, and they said, look, Edwards wasn't able to change it. Bilic wasn't able to change it. We're still seeing what we saw last season in the Premier League. The lack of passion, the lack of fight, the lack of desire has been brought into this season. So the only way it's going to change is if the personnel on the pitch change. And unfortunately, Gino Pozzo and co haven't dug their hands deep enough into their pockets to recruit for the areas that we need. Like, we knew at the end of last season who was no good and who we wanted to keep. They should have been looking at targets, thinking, right, we know we're going down. He's available. He's up and coming. We should have a team that are in England. We talked about this in one of the previous pods. I think it was when Charlie was on. I can't remember what game that was for, but we should have someone that's based in this country looking at players from lower leagues so that when we come into this league, we know who we're going to sign and we know who's available. Burnley have done all right out of it. And, other teams in the past have done all right out of it as well. So why do we insist still on trying to find gems from Southern America and trying to find players from Europe or Italy or Spain? Like, yeah, we signed Gaspar. His CV's incredible. He was captain for Villarreal for however long and got however many, appearances for Villarreal. Seriously impressive CV. But he's not a championship player. I would rather we go and sign a proper right back or a wing back, as we knew Rob would have preferred in his system, than sign someone who's done it all for Villarreal. Like, it's so frustrating. It ultimately comes down to the players that are on that pitch. They haven't been good enough since last season. They're certainly not good enough now. And unfortunately for Bilic, his problem now is he's got these till January. The Pozzos have to have the best transfer window known to mankind in the history of Watford Football Club in January. Otherwise, I dread to think where we're going to. I dread to even think where we're going to be come January. But somebody seriously needs to pull it out the bag in Jan, because it's the players. The only people that can change it are the 11 players on that pitch.
Yeah, if we go off yesterday's performance, then we're highly screwed, because those players, and people might think I'm a bit dramatic here, but those players on the pitch, if they carry on playing like that, we're in the relegation fight this season. Forget about mid-table or playoffs or even automatics. Like, that's gone. Like, if it carries on like it is, like, it's getting toxic in the stands now as well. This football club will end up going down to possibly League One like Sunderland did, because the club is rotten to its core. The players are not good enough. The recruitment has been shocking. Yes, we might have star players who might maybe pop up every game or so to like have that star moment and grabbing a sensational goal like João Pedro or Ismail Assar or Keenan Davis. But them scoring that one weldy or something will be thrown out the window by 3 or 4 stupid mistakes at the back, like what we saw for Blackpool's first goal yesterday. Like, the gap in between True-Seacon and Cavaselli, you could fit 3 London buses in between them. I don't get why they were so far apart. The communication was poor. Batman could see what was in front of him. He probably didn't communicate anything. Chowdhury was ball watching. It was a long ball over the top. I think the Blackpool man won a header over Kamara. And then the ball just fell in between True-Seacon and Cavaselli. They were just so slow to react. And Batman probably could have got out a bit quicker as well. But it's like watching a circus every week. We're trying to analyse the games and performances, but it's fucking woeful, isn't it, Mike? Like, how do you describe that first goal? It's like I know it's probably their first game starting together this season, Cavaselli and True-Seacon, but that was fucking woeful.
It was. And, some people probably know that I manage on a Saturday amateur level. If my lads conceded a goal like that, I would have gone ballistic at Saturday League amateur level, let alone the second tier in English football. I'd have gone ballistic. It's woeful, and it's like you said, it's been too familiar this season. The defence hasn't been shored up. The fact that if you were to write down our defenders on paper and look at the squad depth, I think from the Rookery and do good graphics like that, they set out the squad depth at the start of the season. You would have probably Cabaselli, maybe fifth choice centre back or fifth choice defender. He's starting every game. He's captain at the moment. That shows you the injury woes that we've got. But then at the same time, it also shows you that we didn't recruit for another centre back. We can't really be relying on Cathcart to give us a full season, as well as he is and as good as a servant he's been to the club. You can't be expecting him to play week in, week out at his age.
Not yet.
Exactly. William Schuster-Kong done it in for us in the champ, so I'm happy if he played the majority of the weeks. I'd be happy with that. Francisco Ciarelta, again, we'd expect him to start, but the backups have got to be better than what we've got at the moment. So it just shows, as you say, Kamara was out jumped for that first flick on. It was Route 1 football from Blackpool, but worked a treat for them. He missed that header, which you should be going up and winning. And then, like you say, no communication. That's all that is down to that goal is no communication. The fact there were two defenders free, but their striker was able to get in between both of them and just tap it in. He won't have an easier goal to score this season. It's embarrassing, mate. And you'd like to think that certain coaches come in and prioritise certain things. I look back at when Sonino first come in, and we were a little bit similar to how we are now. The club was a bit of a mess, and Zola had sort of lost the plot.
Much worse now.
Well, yeah, it's much worse now, but I mean, in the respect of when Zola, when it was all going down the part. But Sonino come in and shored us up defensively. We've not had a manager that's come in and shored us up defensively yet. We're making the same mistakes we were last season. So it's the personnel. I don't want to sound like a broken record too much, but it is the personnel, 100%.
I'm getting a bit distracted, Mike, because your cat's just behind you and the wardrobe behind. Has your cat got a say on the Pozzo ownership and the performance yesterday?
She refuses to watch it, mate. She usually watches it with me, but she refused to watch it yesterday.
She looks like the kind of cat that just wants airtime, if I'm totally honest. She's like, what can I do here? If we carry on filming, you could get something out of like you've been framed. If she knocks over that plant, we got 250 quid coming in, mate.
I know, yeah. She's been screaming her head off, so she's obviously got a few things to say to the Pozzos, definitely.
And don't forget, we're seeing lots of good comments here on the section as well. And don't forget, you can get involved here as well. I'm going to get Mike to share the link again. If you pop it into the you can invite to come on, and we'll get you on and have your say. Michael Abraham says that was awful. So I really like that pun there, Mike. But yeah, it's after conceding the first goal, it kind of got a little bit better. We got a foot on the ball. We had a lot of possession. I think we went up to about 70% possession. A couple of opportunities. Sarr should have done a lot better. He was running in onto the front post, and the ball just went past him. He could have maybe arrived quicker into a box. We've got a better connection onto it, and he should have got done much better there for a guy of his quality. But it was just before half time, Mike, where we won a free kick on the edge of a box, and we scored a goal from a free kick. Imran Louza, he stepped up, and I think that's the first free kick Watford have scored whilst fans are in the stadium since Alman Abdi's at home to Aston Villa in the first season of the Premier League. So what's that? We're talking
2016 it was.
Yeah, about 7-8 seasons ago, is it? I'm not too great with my maths, but it great free kick, Mike. I think he caught the keeper out. I thought the keeper maybe thought it was going to go to his near post, and you could see that he was maybe starting to move over, but he just spinned it over the top of him, and it just inside that top corner, it just nestled in, and what a fantastic free kick. And you thought, right, okay, we've got the goal now. We've got the momentum, we've got the confidence, we can push on here, maybe try and grab another goal just before half time, but it didn't seem to work out like that. But fantastic goal from Imran Louza, Mike. That's his first for the club.
Yeah, and what a goal, as you said. When he joined the club, he was sort of labelled as his set piece specialist. And boy, he showed it yesterday. What a goal it was! Like when he was lining it up, I thought, I wonder what he's going to try here. Is he going to shoot? Is he going to try and cross it in? And as soon as it left his foot, I thought that's going in. That is. So an absolutely fantastic goal. Louza, brilliant player as we know. Hopefully that will sort of kickstart his confidence a little bit after being out for so long. And the little spell that we had after conceding was we got back into the game, and we obviously scored the equaliser, and we've been guilty of this a few times. We've got back into games, maybe levelled it, but we've not taken the chances. We had lots of possession. The build-up play was slightly better. Sarr missed that chance, as you say. Sarr has not been the player that we knew he was the last time in the Championship. No sign of that Sarr yet turning up, even though he's our top goal scorer. That probably tells you the quality that he does possess when he wants to try. But ultimately, we're not being clinical enough. And again, another problem like last season, we're not scoring the goals and taking the chances. I thought that was our best spell to maybe go ahead. You got to remember, I put a tweet out yesterday, which was wrong. Andrew French corrected me, but it still racked up quite a few likes. I don't know if people saw that, but Blackpool had only won one game at home up until yesterday. And that was the very first game of the season. And I was led to believe they've only scored 2 goals at home this season, full stop. Again, that
I bet they was licking their lips when they knew they had Watford next then.
Well, that's what I was saying on Twitter. I says, and please, enter the equation Watford FC. We'll give you a hand if you need some points or goals or confidence. And a goal, even if it was after Louza's free kick, even if we sort of took the lead there, you would like to think that we would have then carried it on and won the game, and we'll be sitting here talking about something else. But we just, there is no plan whatsoever. The style of play hasn't changed. Listen, I know that it's Bilic is only 3 games into his Watford reign at the moment, but there's been no apparent change in the way that we play. It seems all we want to do, or all we got in the locker, is we pass it around in midfield a bit. We'll pass it around at the back. We'll get so far. We'll think, oh, better not. Back to the keeper. And then the defender will get it. He'll look around thinking, who can I pick out? Then he goes long. And then they head the ball back and we start the cycle again. It's not hard for people to see that there is no clear plan in the way that we want to play at the moment. And I just really fear for us. We've got Norwich coming up on Saturday. Then we've got them locked down the M1 the Sunday after that. I tell you what, if we're still playing like this in 2 weeks' time, they're going to have the best away day of their entire lives. I'm dreading it, mate. Absolutely dreading it.
Yeah, it's got to a point where I can't be asked to go watch Watford at the moment. I get no excitement or enjoyment out of watching it, and it's a bit of a chore to go watch Watford now. And I'm like, we've got Norwich Saturday. It's live on Sky. It's an evening kickoff. I can't be asked to go there. Like, what is there to motivate me to go into the ground? And I would not be spending any money in Vicarage Road, that's for sure, because that would be just lining Gino Pozzo's back pocket. I know I paid for my season ticket up front already, and he's got that money, but I will not be spending another penny in that football ground whilst he's owning this football club, because he's just taking us all for fools at the moment. But yeah, I'm seriously contemplating staying in Saturday night and just watching the game on TV. Like, have a family day during the day, and then in the evening just stick it on. And if we start playing woeful, quite easy to turn it off instead of like walking out the ground and then driving the old half an hour back home. And then, like you say, our neighbours up the road, up the M1 on the Sunday 12 o'clock kickoff, like you said, they're going to have a time of their lives, because they will absolutely batter us. I can quite comfortably see Watford losing 3-4-0 to them, because they'll be white up for that game, and Watford will just shy away. I mean, they'll be cowardless, just like what we saw yesterday. And I mentioned cowardless, and that's exactly what that defending was for that second goal. Obviously, the change was made. Dan Gosling came off, and Christian Cavaselli went over to the right-hand side of the defence. But we've seen him do that before against Sunderland, wasn't it? And Sunderland scored late on from a Christian Cavaselli error playing at right back. And then we saw it again yesterday where it looked like he was trying to jockey the player. He lost his man, but then he just gave up. And the guy just ran to the byline to get his cross in. And Christian Cabaselli wasn't even chasing him. He literally gave up. He's the captain of the football club and he fucking gave up. Like we had the privilege of speaking to him at the start of the season. And he does come across as a decent guy, but he's a fucking horrendous footballer. Like, you manage that Sunday League football team. I imagine your players would not give up like that to stop, let a guy cross the ball in like that. Like, what the fuck is he thinking about? And he is atrocious. And I don't like to dig out players, but I've had a fuck enough of him. And yes, it's down to the recruitment of not bringing in better players to let him play and the injuries at the club. But surely we've got someone better in our academy than Christian Cabaselli to play at this level, because he is not up for it. And for him to be given captain's armbands is an insult to every single fan that watches this team. I just have... Sorry, Mike. That's my rant. But what's your thoughts on it? Because literally, I am sick and tired of seeing him on the team sheet. Like, and I know he's probably not dear. He's a guy who like plays with confidence and that, but you can obviously see that his confidence is not. So take him out the firing line, because it's not good for him and it's definitely not good for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. That second goal yesterday, I don't know why I put myself through this, but I was looking at a few clips yesterday from the game, and that one where the second one where he gets the crossing, he chases him down to start with. The player gets past him, and then he runs, and he's like, "Actually, no, you crack on, you go and cross it if you want." And then obviously the ball goes in, and he scores a goal. So, you know, it's pathetic. The fact that he's the one with the captain armbands on as well. I know that Troy Deeney got a lot of stick. I don't want to bring him up because there'll be a lot of fans that are like, "Oh, here we go," but Troy Deeney, every time he was on the pitch, you knew that he was passionate and you knew that he loved the club and he would put everything on the line for the club. Could you imagine Troy doing that yesterday? I can't imagine Troy doing that. I know there'll be a few fans that were like, "Well, Troy was shit before the end of the season, before he left Watford." He might well have been not playing to the best of his ability, but he wouldn't give up that easily. Can you imagine in the changing room after if he did? And it's just, at the moment, it's almost as if Cabaselli might be thinking like, "I'm playing badly, my confidence is low," but he knows that he's going to be in the squad for the next game because there's no one to replace him. That's where we need to be a bit more, rough us up a bit. And, when Slaven Bilic first come in, yeah, we were all peed off that Rob Edwards was let go. And when the sort of dust settled a little bit, we were like, okay, Slaven Bilic, won promotion before, he's going to get into the players, he's a tough sort of character. He's going to bring in, he's going to bring in some good backroom stats. There was rumours that Julian Dix is going to be coming in. He was with him at West Ham. Everyone knows what sort of player he was. So he'll get into the players. He'll rough them up. He might be the best man to have us in charge for a game like Luton. But I tell you what, I just can't believe that he's still. Well, I can believe that he's still getting played because of the injuries, but he seriously needs to be stripped of the armband. And I'd be putting James Morris in the next game. Play James Morris out of position. I'd even go as far as saying keep Kamara on the left, Gosling at right back. As I said at the start, he didn't do that bad of a job. So, have him at right back. Just anyone but Cabaselli. I don't know how he's getting minutes at the moment. And like you said, take nothing away from the guy. He's a nice guy, but nice guys don't win you games, unfortunately. And he certainly lost us one yesterday. Lost us 2 points against Sunderland as well when he come on, and he was awful against them. But just everything, to be honest, it's hard to sit here and talk about the football. Like we haven't done any content for a while, and it's tough to motivate yourself to talk about these games. And yesterday was horrendous. I don't know why I bothered watching, to be honest.
But like you say, like you talking about Troy Deeney and that, and saying about Troy wouldn't have let the guy cross the ball into a box because of like what kind of captain he was. But if Troy was on that pitch, he would be screaming at every single player to make sure they're doing their job properly. Whereas Christian Cabaselli, he's not vocal. He doesn't motivate the players. Troy would be running from one length of a pitch to the other to tell Christian Cabaselli off at that moment and telling him to buck up his ideas. And then he would be running into the changing rooms and having a bollocking, giving every single player a bollocking. We haven't got this in this football club right now. We are lacking real leaders. And this football club has missed Troy Deeney for his leadership. Yes, like you said, he wasn't fantastic towards the end of his career with his footballing ability, but you could not fault him for his leadership on the pitch. And like Mike Abraham says here as well about other leaders on the pitch, like Jay Demerit, John Eustace. I'll probably throw in like Steve Palmer, and the list goes on. We've had so many quality leaders, Robert Page. Like, we haven't got players like that, and it's all down to the lack of recruitment in defence. Like, it's fantastic that they go pick up these gems from South America, and we did it midweek again. I think I finished playing football Monday night, and I saw that we actually signed another young Colombian. Is it something Hurtador or something? He'll be joining at the end of next season. A young guy coming in, but it's great that we're getting young, like, South American flair players, but wouldn't it be nice to like getting like a young South American like solid defender or something? Like, do they only look at attacking players over there? Like, sure, do they not look at this team and go, this team needs defenders? Like, whether it's now or in the future, we need defenders. But then we shouldn't be relying heavily on these youngsters like we're seeing with Espria. I was talking to our mate the other day, and I was saying about how surprised that we've seen him so early on in his Watford career. Like, when we signed him, I was expecting him to maybe be loaned out to like a Spanish side or something, or an Italian side, and we wouldn't really see him for 1-2 seasons. He's been thrown in at the deep end. Fair play to him. He hasn't sunk or anything. He's actually stayed afloat, and he's actually done pretty well this season. And again, he was a bright spot coming off the bench yesterday. He's someone who wants to get on the ball and he wants to make things happen. And he was showing all the other professionals on the pitch of how it's done, and we didn't see that. It's dreadful. And another guy who should not be anywhere near the starting 11 is Edu Kiembe. What on earth does he offer this football team? And I was pleased to see him subbed off yesterday as well, because I thought, is he someone who's untouchable? Because we haven't seen Rob Edwards sub him off before. Bilic didn't do it in his first 2 games, but he did it yesterday, and I was so pleased to see that it took him off, because he is woeful. He offers us absolutely nothing in the middle of the park. So hopefully now with Tom Deddy-Bashru back, he got some minutes yesterday. Fantastic to see him back, because it was rumoured that he had a lengthy injury, and he came back off because he had a really good pre-season and he was starting every single game, and then he got injured just, I think, a day or 2 before the start of the season. So fantastic to see him back. But if he gets fully fit, well, we've got 7 days now till Norwich. Hopefully, I'd want to see Tom Deddy-Bashru starting ahead of KMB, because he's another one who's not fit to wear the shirt. That was a chance in the away end at the final whistle. And do you think it's too harsh to be singing things like that towards the players? Or Watford fans have the right to say whatever they want, because we travel the length of the country to go watch this team, and fans have spent money in the hotel rooms, the like petrol, train, whatever way they made to get up there. The matchday tickets aren't cheap, food and drink. It's a fair assessment, isn't it, Mike, to say that you're not fit to wear the shirt, because what we're watching at the moment is they are not fit to wear the shirt.
Absolutely, and I don't want to be one of these guys that highlights the issues going on in the world at the moment, but everything's going up. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I live at home still. Hopefully moving in with my partner soon. But like, your monthly bills are going up, your gas, your energy, everything's going up. Wages are staying where they are, which is why we're seeing so many strikes. So disposable income is at an all-time sort of low. Yet people are still using that disposable income to go travel up and down the country to watch Watford. You know, the Blackpool yesterday, it's a bloody long journey. I was watching it, and the missus said to me, she goes, that's a long way for Watford to travel to Blackpool. She goes, will there be many fans there? And I says, I wouldn't be surprised if we took a couple of thousand up there. And she was surprised, you know. And the fact that people are spending their hard-earned money when, like I said, everything's going up, and they're still paying to watch Watford. And that is how they reward us. Like, don't get me wrong, loads of teams have bad runs, but I wouldn't mind if, and a few people might raise a few eyebrows, but if we'd have come off that pitch and lost 3-1, but we gave absolutely 100%, and Blackpool were just, you know, everything they touched turned to gold that day, I wouldn't have minded as much. Yeah, they've been pissed off that we lost 3-1. It ruins my day, to be honest. But it's the fact that we're not seeing players give 100%. And again, I'll say something again as well, which might raise eyebrows. But yeah, Louza scored a great free kick. But I don't know if I'm being harsh here, but I can't pick a single player out of that team yesterday that I thought, well, actually, as bad as we were, he was all right. I think they were all sort of below par. Yeah, Louza scored that fantastic free kick, so people will probably say him. But I think there wasn't a player which really stood out for me as well. So I think Mikey Abrahams has just said there that if they can't be asked, why should we? And it's just tough following Watford. I'm going on holiday on Thursday and I'll be out there on Saturday. I said to the lads yesterday before the game, I says, make sure we're in a bar on Saturday night that's got the football on. I said to you just before we started recording, Ben, I'm not arsed now, to be honest. I'm quite happy if we're not in a bar that's got the football on, because you get into that stage, and I hate being like this. But I said to my lads yesterday, I said, the only thing that's keeping me interested in football at the moment is my Saturday lads that I manage. And what does it come to when you're only interested in football because of the amateur team that you manage? Like, that shouldn't be the case, regardless of where your team play or what division. But that's what Watford are driving us to. And something needs to change. Something massive needs to change, I'm telling you, because it's a dark, dark place at the moment, Watford's, being a Watford fan.
Yeah, I was chatting to our mate Chris when I went to the game with him against Swansea midweek Wednesday, and we were both saying about how unconnected we feel with this football club now, and how much passion we're losing from it, from like the lack of players trying on the pitch and the no direction from the ownerships. And it's a struggle to go to games now and motivate yourself to watch this team, because there is no connection between us and the players. And I said to him, the only reason why I go to Vicarage Road now is for a social event, basically, to just go meet your mates. I couldn't give a shit really about Watford at the moment, because it's just hurting, and it hurts to say things like that because this is our football club. But the way it's being run by Gino Pozzo is just scandalous. I said it the other week that he's turned this club into a circus, and he is getting away with it. And enough is enough now. Watford fans need to voice up. We need to stand up, and we need to make a stand, and we need to let Gino Pozzo know how unhappy we are. But how do we get that message across to him, Mike? Like, what do Watford fans do from here on in? Like I said to you earlier in the earlier podcast, my action for next Saturday is I won't be attending the game, and I'll watch it at home, because I'm not putting any money into Vicarage Road, because that's going to line Gino Pozzo's pocket. But what should Watford fans do? Like, I don't want to turn my back on the team completely, but I think it helps that they're on Sky. Maybe if it wasn't on Sky, I would probably go, but it's on Sky, so I'm just going to stay in, like, have a family day, and then just watch it in the evening, like flick it on and get a takeaway or something like that. But what should Watford fans do now, Mike?
Well, I mean, if Watford fans are truly of the opinion that they want the Pozzos to go, then as long as it's all within reason and it doesn't get too violent or anything, then you just do what every other fan base does whenever they want their owners to leave. You either stop attending and attendances drop, or you make it clear at your discontent, because at the moment, we're all annoyed at the decisions to sack Rob Edwards. And then, the first game after that, Billich's first game, we won 4-0. And there might be fans out there that don't admit this to be the case, but I can bet you bottom dollar that there were fans out there that were saying, well, Pozzo needs to go out. But then after the 4-0 win at Stoke, they might have been, well, actually, heads might have turned a little bit. So the distraction there is, the big win against Stoke. But if fans are serious, and like I said, as long as it's done without any violence, they just need to make it known and protest, whether that's before the game, not attending the games, walking out at certain minutes. I think Manchester United used to do that, or Blackpool. Look at Blackpool when they wanted Carl Oyster out. I'm not suggesting that we all start throwing tennis balls on the pitch, but they made it clear that they wanted him to leave, and he soon left. So you've seen it before with football clubs where they want their owners to leave, they hold a protest, and then in the end the message gets out. Or even if Duxbury or Gino, even if he answered Andrew French's call of let me do an interview with you and see what he's got to say, just communicate with us. This season was meant to be all about communication. No one's come out and said diddly squat since. They've explained all the transfers when Kiko left and when other players left and why we're bringing him in. That's great. But explain to us what's going on. Explain what you're going to do about the rut that we're in at the moment. Explain why Rob Edwards was sacked. Someone needs to sit down with Andrew French, Adam Leventhal, one of these, and just tell us what is going on. Because there's too many fans out there. Well, all the fans out there are pissed off with what's going on. We don't know which direction our club is heading in, and we don't know what the Pochos are going to do about it. We just want some transparency.
Yeah, we're going to come to someone's requested to join us. Dan, who's a good mate of mine, and Mike's is going to come in. He works for Hemel Hempstead on a Saturday match day, so he doesn't get to watch Watford as much. But when he does go, he's got a lot to say about Watford, so it'd be interesting to get his thoughts. But a couple of comments I just want to read through quickly, because we're talking about how uninterested we are with Watford Football Club at the moment. Miles Roberts says that even when we scored that last minute goal against Middlesbrough, I wasn't even that happy with the performance, and that was meant to be a high moment. And then Michael Abraham says, if I'm well enough, I was going to go to Wigan away, as it's my local to me, but really not sure if I'm going to bother now, to be honest. And it's the same with me, Mike. We've got Millwall coming back up midweek soon, and I really wanted to go do it, but I can't be bothered now. Like, why should I bother after like a 8.5 hour day at work to like rush to get a train, go all the way into South London to go support that? And like, that's just ridiculous. Like, I can't be arsed with it. Now we're going to add Dan into it. Here we go. Dan, how are you doing, mate? Nice to see you to join us. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, thank you. What's your take on all this at the moment? And have you got any thoughts on like how Watford fans should maybe voice their opinions towards Gino Pozzo and Scott Duxbury?
Yeah, it's a very challenging scenario, because in football clubs you only see what's on the surface, and the surface is very much on the pitch for 90 minutes for a game, and I'm sure there's probably far much more going on behind the scenes and stuff that we don't know about, stuff probably at the training ground in regards to players and things like that, but also stuff at board level in regards to finances. So I imagine this season really sits on a knife edge, both from a financial perspective and just in terms of our future direction. Because let's be honest, if we don't get promotion, we are going to lose pretty much the majority, if not all, of the saleable assets that we have, and then we'll be left. Well, God knows what we're talking about, squad depletion now. God knows what we'll be left with this time next year if we don't achieve anything. So yeah, it's not just a crossroads. It's like I say, it's that knife edge. And I think, Mike, you made a very good point there in regards to the communication aspect. And I think there's been so much radio silence on loads of different aspects of the club this season. The Rob Edwards sacking, obviously we got those few lines from Gino, which we've not had before, but that's just not good enough. We get the comments from Scott in the summer, and like you say, I don't get to games as much as I used to or like, and so therefore naturally I lack that same connection that I once had. But this season, with Rob coming in, we had the Elton John concert, which I thought was an absolutely fantastic way to bring everyone together. And you really felt that from that moment there was some momentum going into the season, that we were going to do things differently. And I think that was shattered in all but 3 months, really. And the fact that we've had no explanation as to why, there might be really valid reasons as to why that's happened. And I know that as fans, we don't always get to know those, but I think we're at a stage now where we have to know those sorts of things, because see videos on social media yesterday, fans fighting in the stand. That's not what Watford stands for. We're meant to be a family club. We're meant to be a club where kids and families can go. You know, I grew up going to away games with my parents as young kids, feeling safe and enjoying it. Come win, lose or draw. Let's be honest. When I was going, didn't win too many games on the road, but we have lost all identity and all credibility when it comes to our community work. I kind of wrote a few bullet points here, and I said that we've become a laughing stock in the footballing world, when actually once upon a time we were held up as the great community club. But we do still do a lot of great work in the community. I'm fortunate enough to still do some work with the Community Trust, and they do some fantastic work day in, day out. But for every good thing we do, we do three things so badly. And I think I honestly don't know what Watford Football Club stands for anymore. And Ben, I take your point about not wanting to go to the game next week. Yeah, I'm the same. The only game that I'm planning to go to for the rest of the season will be Luton, because I feel that as all Watford fans, we have to be at that game, regardless of what our opinions are, because that is a very tribal experience, if you like, you know, and that could be the catalyst for our season. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And like many younger fans as well have never experienced that first derby, have they? They've never really seen Luton come to town and what a derby atmosphere is about. And we're lucky enough to be at them before. Like we've seen Marlon King score at Vicarage Road. I think we draw that, didn't we? And then obviously we had a horrible night midweek in the League Cup where there was lots of violence on the pitch, which Watford fans have seen as well. But not many fans of the younger generations have actually experienced one of these fierce derbies. So that's why they want to go. And like you say, this is probably the only game of the season at home that Watford fans will want to turn up in their numbers in. But after that, I think we're going to see a lot of empty seats at Vicarage Road. And we saw it against Swansea midweek. And I know the train strikes probably didn't help situations, but I'm getting to a point now where I'm seeing lots of empty seats now. And you can see the grumblings on social media now. Watford fans are not happy. The Watford fans are going to be voicing their opinions, whether they're not going to the ground and not giving Gino Pozzo any money, or we're going to be turning up with, I don't know, protest signs outside the ground that won't get them in, because obviously for the stewards, they control what goes in and out of the stadium. But I imagine we might even get to a situation where we might even see tennis balls being brought in, and it's ridiculous to think that, but I think the younger generations will see that they've done it at other football clubs like Charlton and Blackpool, and they'll be like, well, what else are we going to do? You can't bring in signs or anything, so they'll end up doing something silly like that. And I don't want to see that. I don't want us to go down that route where things like that's happening at our football club. Like, we're proud to be Watford supporters, and like you say, this situation yesterday of unrest in the Watford away end where there was pushing and shoving. I don't know if there was any like fighting or anything, but we've all seen the clip on social media. And like you say, this is a family club, and it's got to a point where people are arguing amongst themselves, they're pushing and shoving each other because of what's happening behind the scenes, because we're not being communicated by the Gino Pozzo or Scott Duxbury. It is just a joke, and we have turned it into a laughing stock. Like what do you expect out of the performance against Norwich next week? Like, what is there to look forward to? Like, the only thing I can think that maybe positive that we might see is obviously we might see Imran Louza starting again, and hopefully Tom Deddy Beshru, but it might be a game too early for him to start a game. But like, can Watford fans even get excited that we're at home against Norwich next Saturday?
Absolutely not. And I think, you know, we hear the fans singing at the end or chanting at the end, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." And I was kind of looking at some of the transfers. I was going through all the transfers in the last sort of 7 or 8 years, and I was trying to identify that one player who, or even just come to one player who really brought into Watford, and actually you could say was proud to wear the shirt. And I identified Deulofeu because I think he gave us a great moment, and I take people's points that, you know, he would give you a good game or good moment like the Wembley thing, but then might give you sort of 5 bad games. But I think, you know, you can identify him as someone that actually gave us something to look back on in history. But I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Who would be that player for you if you look back on in the signings over the last 7 or 8 years that you could pinpoint and say, yeah, do you know what? They might not be one of our own, but they were one player who could you could say really got us.
I would probably say maybe Gabriel Angela. He wore his heart on his sleeve every time he played. He loved the club. You could see, you know, the very few goals he did score, you could see what it meant to him. I'll never forget when he scored at Forest. And he was like a kid in a sweet shop when he scored, and he was running back over to the away fans and celebrating. But since then, like you said, I don't know if there is anyone really that sort of gets what it means to play for the club. You're probably looking really that first season that they took us over. That's when they're, you know, you Pudil, you know, he knew what it meant. Alman Abdi, that sort of player understood. But since then, I really struggle to know. I mean, I know Capoue was a great player. If you was to ask who's probably the greatest players that the Pots have signed, Capoue's definitely up there. But do I think that he showed passion and showed that he loved it here? Probably not. I mean, he made up for it in his ability. But so I'm probably saying Gabriel Angela, Pudil, Abdi, Vidra as well, I'd probably say, and Igalo as well. Miri's just said in there Kiko as well. Kiko got what it meant for the club as well. So, but I get your point. It is really hard to pinpoint those sort of players.
And think about how many players we've signed in that time as well.
Exactly. And I think you're right. I don't think you can go wrong with saying about that first transfer window, really, and that pool of players that came over and they really embraced Watford Football Club, and they was part of the community, and like Abdi and Vidra, Igalo, Forestieri, like they really loved this football club, and like Watford fans had a really big connection with those pool of players as well, and we felt a bit hard done by when we got promoted, and some of those players weren't given an opportunity. And maybe the last season in the Championship before we got promoted, probably the biggest one for me is Aurelio Gomez. Apart from that, I can't name you anyone that we've signed in the Premier League apart from maybe Kiko. He really loved this football club. Holebas definitely didn't love the football club. Didn't even know he was joining Watford. But yeah, really good question that is. Really had us thinking there. But I can't.
Maybe we should do a starting 11 of players who were fit to play the shirt in the Pozzo era.
100%. That would be tough. We could do that and pop that on Twitter and retweet it from the Voices of the Vic account. But yeah, that's quality. But yeah, we'll probably wrap it up there because we've been on for like nearly 50 minutes. But Dan, thank you so much for joining us today, mate. I know we've tried to get you on before, but it hasn't worked out because of work commitments and all that, and we've recorded at different times and that. But it'd be great to get you back on if you're interested, mate.
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you are at a loose end next Saturday, Hemel are at home to Cheshunt in the National League South. Give them a little plug there. So yeah, you get to see some real football there and players that certainly do try. So yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, nice one. Cheers, Dan. And Mike, thanks as always for doing this with me as well. I know it's tough and we message each other backwards and forwards. It's like, I can't be asked to do this, but we do it for the love of this football club. We've done another podcast, and yeah, we'll be back next week. Well, I'll be back. Mike's on holiday. He won't be watching the game. He'll be turning his phone off so he can actually enjoy his evening. But I'll be back next week, and I'll be looking around to get a guest on as well. So I'll be back Sunday afternoon probably. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for your comments. Don't forget to like our page, subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment as well, and hopefully things will get better. Support Watford Football Club. I can't promise anything, but it's just hopeful, really. But yeah, come on, you Orns.